Welcome to episode 151 of the Carpe Fide podcast. What you missed on the video medium is that Jesse just flopped his hands around like a floppity flop flopper.
Like a waving arms inflatable car salesman, or like
Yes,
an excited Kermit the Frog.
like those wackadoo inflatable guys outside of those places. Or Kermit the Frog, yes. Very good, very good. Excellent. Um, this will be a special broken news, because it's already broken, and it's also broken. Both things are true.
Yes.
We're going to talk just briefly about our views of the Trump conviction and where that stands, because it is important news, I think, as far as a maybe cultural totem inside of America's short history. Simultaneously, I also wanted to just make sure Jesse got the opportunity to update you guys, because I know a lot of you guys very generously care for us and pray for us. And the update on Jesse's youngest beautiful son, Remy, and just kind of where he's at with that, because it also gives you insight into why, sadly, we have been less consistent, as both of our lives are quite busy. But Jesse, if you're willing to, um, how is baby Remy, and where are you guys at?
Well, Remy is now just turned 6 months old. It's been a heck of a 6 months. If you remember, Remy was born with something called congenital CMV, which is a virus that we pass around generally ubiquitously. But when caught while pregnant, it can wreak havoc on the baby. It's one of the few that crosses the placenta and does some pretty crazy damage. So Remy has neurologic issues. His brain structure is abnormal. It's damaged. Um, and so, in addition to being born a month early, he has significant issues with his I guess neurologic status that's affecting a lot of different things on him currently. He's generally delayed. He's with his milestones and everything like that. But his tone, we've come to find out, is floppy, I guess you could say, in his core. So like his neck muscles, and all of that stuff, his head control, extremely floppy. But he's very tight in his arms and legs. So um, the neurologist helped us understand that actually can cause him bit, uh, quite a deal of pain. I guess if you imagine that you're flexing your muscles and keeping them in, that hurts. So Remy's currently on some gabapentin during the day to help him loosen up and tolerate life a little bit better. It seems to be really helping, which is a blessing. Um, but because of his decreased tone in his airway, he is having some breathing issues. So he's got very loud breathing, pretty much at baseline. He's gotten sick a couple times, which has been extremely harrowing, just because he can't really breathe well to begin with. But when he's sick, everything's all congested and gunky, and he has a hard time breathing even more. So we actually have oxygen for him at home, along with suction and a pulse ox from the pulmonologist, which is a blessing to be able to have the things that we need to care for him well. And really, just Hannah's been doing a tremendous job at caring for him, as I do work nights. So it seems to be kind of like the hardest time to care for him is nights. Um, there has been very little sleep these past few months, I shall say. So, that combined with the stress of his situation and the rest of life continuing to move forward, it has definitely led to some of my absences on the Carpe Fide podcast recently. Um, the hope is that some of his, looking forward, the hope is that some of his airway issues clear up as he grows, just because as he grows, his airway widens just naturally, and hopefully that will give him some relief and some ability to cope a little bit better. But we're following up with very many specialists. He's got a really, really good team, and we're really blessed with that. So yeah, I mean, did I miss anything in my update, Justin? You might know.
No, that all sounds accurate. From my much more limited uh, connection to all that detail. What from an uncle standpoint, Remy is a beautiful baby, and he is certainly doing better each and every day. And every time I get to see him, I feel like he is doing a little better, seeing things, grasping things, trying to focus, reacting to different stimuli. So all of that is really cool. To look at Remy, you would think he is kind of just, I think Jesse described it accurately, just kind of a little more floppy, but just a normal looking baby. But that being said, he's obviously needs a lot of extra care, and that is definitely where you can be praying for Jesse and the entire Blonde Gruber clan, as they are affectionately known. And if you're curious what that looks like, it looks like every night I pray with my boys, and we always pray for Remy um, to be healed and for God to create amazing pathways in the brain. Because the reality is, doctors know quite a bit, and yet when they know quite a bit about the brain, they still find themselves knowing very little for how the brain actually works, as it is made in an amazing way by God to do absolutely amazing things. Um, so I did want to say that that is how we pray. If you would like to be praying, that is definitely a good way to go. Without having to know the amazingly detailed schedule of specialists that are constantly on the calendar for Jesse and Hannah. That would be my uncle view.
Yeah, I mean, additionally, our church has been a tremendous help, as small as it is. We had some guys come over and just help me knock out some stuff on the to do list a couple days ago, just financially and just with various different supports coming from our little community have been a huge help. And so may that encourage anybody perhaps listening to really dive into their church and see who they can help. It's weird being on the receiving end of the help. Um, Definitely for sure uncomfortable. But that's just that's just where God has our family right now.
Mhm.
So we're trying to be as humble as we can, as thankful as we can, and people really been showering us with assistance. So super thankful for that too.
Yeah, definitely. It's just so much having been learned by our church over the past just probably the past year and a half, as far as diving into community and engaging. And I think it has been a boon over the past 6 months for you and your family, and it's the way God has intended it's supposed to be. So this is exactly what you should be seeking in a covenant family, is a covenant family, one that covenants together, means it, and then invests and sacrifices for one another. And that is a great encouragement as well. But continue to keep Jesse and the Blondes in prayer, and little baby Remy to develop as only God can grow and nurture him as well. That would be the admonition I would offer to you if praying for us is something that you consider. I know many of you do, and we are very grateful. Okay, well that's awesome. Thank you for updating us, Jess. I appreciate that. I know it's not always easy to think through that stuff, so I'm glad you did that for us.
Yeah, it's hard to condense the amount of
Mm.
information into a short slash helpful form. Um, I feel like we can barely keep track of the information and we're living it, let alone try to relay it to people who aren't living it. But hopefully that was an okay catch up. So, but
Oh yeah, I think that was definitely what was necessary. I think it's important for everybody to be able to know, and many of you are in community with us, talking to us so regularly that we felt it was probably appropriate for that to happen, as we covet all prayers. Um, and as far as breaking news goes, There's no soft way to transition, so we're just going to do like hard smash take to the broken news story. Donald Trump was convicted on 34 felony counts in the state felony case in New York.
Justice is swerved.
The reason I thought it'd be fun just to react to it is because I think all of this needs to stay. It all needs to stay in context of the sovereign God. And it's also a great way, since we did miss last Friday and the week before, to we missed the week before. Am I
Yes, we
yeah,
missed a week before, and then we're recording on a
Friday?
Monday,
So we're
having
we're
missed the second
gonna give you like
Friday.
a this is like a midweek broken news reaction. Um, it the dust is settled now, and that's it's a good thing. It's always a good thing. I think there was a lot of hand wringing when the convictions came down, and yeah, but maybe you've heard of it, and maybe you have opinions one way or the other. I think it's important to know the details of what happened, because it's kind of like, I don't know. It sounds like something. It's the whole case is something you would not believe to happen inside of a nation that supposedly is governed by the rule of law, where justice is blind, everyone is innocent until proven guilty, and you can find a jury of peers somehow to actually rule in a
Theoretically impartial peers.
impartial, yeah, impartial way. Um, but essentially it feels as if I actually nothing, none of that, like zero parts of that is what happened in this case, which is
Yes,
kind of overwhelming.
unfortunately, the more you know about the case, the worse it becomes.
Yeah, no, like if you can just stay in the whole like, oh, so what, Trump was convicted, do I care? No. Or maybe you rejoice in the streets as some did, but when
those
you
people,
know
those people were probably also painting rainbows in the streets at the same time.
yeah, well, they had to get ready because the news came down May 30th, so that was um what, last Thursday, I believe, if I have my calendar. I'm pulling it up here. Yeah, so
That sounds
Thursday,
about right. Yeah,
yeah, Thursday the
or
conviction came down. So we were really there was a lot of instant reacting happening Thursday. There's a lot more analysis happening on Friday. Here we are on Monday. So we've gotten through the whole weekend news cycle, um, which is just so momentary. It's just minute by minute. Um, and to
yeah.
understand,
Remember when we pulled out of Afghanistan? It's like years ago.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
And yet the wounds are still so fresh every time you
Yes.
mention it. What a garbage mess. Anyway,
Continuing with
uh,
that theme.
continuing with garbage mess. The I'm going to stay away from too many specific details. I don't care the name of the judge, prosecutor. I mean, I I, I mostly know them. I probably could stab at them. Honestly, that's not the point of what we're trying to do here. To understand what was said and what was done in a court of law is pretty phenomenal. Essentially, um, the crime that Trump, and there's again avoiding all details, just giving you the general overview so you can understand, because it's important in order to understand how to react to something like this. Um, the crime that they were seeking to prosecute Trump on was beyond the statute of limitations, meaning essentially that they could not try him on the crime they wanted to, because their laws state that if it's been this long since this has happened, then the uh, trial would be a moot point. That's what a statute of limitations is. The problem there is they knew they could proceed with those particular accusations if they could raise it from just a state crime to a state felony, and that would have allowed to extend the statute of limitations. So hopefully you're with us so far.
Yes, which they somehow magically did.
Yes.
Yes.
So
That is the first
so
queer thing.
you can't say
Or
that.
maybe the second. The second
Junior.
queer thing would have been
That's, um,
the fact that he's literally being prosecuted as a political opponent of the current sitting president in a presidential election where he is the primary opponent of said sitting president. So
Yeah,
that's the first sham. But the
the
second sham.
district the district attorney ran on a platform of saying that they would get Trump, this district attorney in New York. So that was their plan all along. They
So
when they're
he's
going to
impartial from the get go.
right. So the goal there is you don't have to. You can you once you know you're going. This is who I'm going after. I just have to find a crime or make a crime and develop a crime. Um, so with it needing to be raised to a state felony, they would have had to. They had to fudge a whole bunch of stuff. It's basically like a gobstopper where you like continue to just eat the gobstopper, and there's another layer to the gobstopper, another layer to the gobstopper, and then you get to the end of the gobstopper, and the whole thing is hollow. Is essentially what this case is. So they needed to have a way for it to rise it to the level of a felony. To do that, they knew that if they could identify it as a federal felony, identify a federal felony that Trump was convicted on, then or tried for, as long as he was tried for a felony, then they could, in theory, apply that as the raising of the case's importance into the felony category. To do that, they used three separate accusations of which they did not need unanimous consent on. They simply needed at least four jurors to identify that, to agree with the perceived guilt in the accusation. That would then give them a total of 12 votes for in the felony accusation, and then they could raise it to the state felony level, and then they could really move that trial forward. The problem was, you're probably aware of this. Donald Trump is a very public figure. So people know what he does, what he eats, what kind of cars he drives, his planes, where he is most of the time. um, and so if you're hearing this, you might wonder what federal felony, and what federal case had been brought against President Trump that he had been accused of and found guilty of. And you would be correct to wonder that, because the answer is zero. um, he's not a federal felon, and therefore the whole premise of the case is nothing. And so then to move forward, it essentially makes the whole rest of the case nothing. And that's where the disgusting miscarriage of justice on the part of the judge and the prosecutor are something that should stagger us, because we know and rely on the court system as something, a place where the innocent can find refuge. But if you cannot rely on a prosecutor and judge to actually be seeking justice, and instead be creating whatever whims they feel, then there is no safety in a legal structure at all. And that was never the intent for our nation. That was the opposite of the intent of our nation. Um, and so that's how the trial then proceeded. After that, everything is kangaroo nonsense anyway. So I don't know how much of the trial any of you have ever watched or covered or listened to. It's all essentially meaningless. It was incredibly evil. I mean, the jurors, I want to blame them because they're New Yorkers, and why not put Trump in jail? But simultaneously, they literally had to juror under the instructions of the judge, who was literally telling them ways that they could manipulate to essentially move this case forward in the state felony level, and then get Trump as a convicted felon. That's essentially what the judge did. It's an incredible miscarriage of justice, and it's kind of gross. Um, but all that's the reality of it, and you should know it because it's really, really bad. If this is what they can do, then you know that is a viable option for you as a citizen. This is what is now allowed for them to utilize against you. So when the thought police start deciding to knock on doors, what limit is there against them? The reality is the only limit that may be against them is your ability to possess and own firearms lawfully in the defense of and your family, because the legal system may just be this corrupt. This may just be as broken. It's just this broken.
Yeah, this isn't just an accidental dispensation of injustice. This is clearly planned out, executed on multiple levels from the beginning against a political opponent who they don't want in office. So they think oh, let's try this and see if that'll dissuade voters. Well, it doesn't seem to have done that, unfortunately for them. And that might be really the only justice that has been served in this entire case.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're referring to the internet breaking as this conviction came out, as people tried would slap their own mother to try to find a way to donate to the campaign of Donald Trump. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, so essentially, Google was inundated with how can I support Trump's campaign? Enter, and the internet was inundated with that. Google was overwhelmed, being exploded. It was a whole internet situation. Um, and he had the largest grossing campaign contribution day ever. He beat the largest day ever from the Democratic poll for he beat Biden. And the majority of this was small dollar donations, which is what the real crux of that is, because when you have that many people donating like $5 and $10, that's how the internet gets broken. Essentially, I think it was something along the lines of like 40 or 50, $55 million in a day, which is a kind of an insane number to think about. But there was a lot of people who realized the level of injustice that was gone to, and said, "Hey, you know what? We really can't have this. And if this is how it's going to go, then we need to see what we can do to interact with our political system." Um, more than that,
Well, it seems like whenever the Democratic Party inserts itself into the judicial system, they always like pretty much always seem to do the wrong thing or
mm,
have the wrong opinion as to what justice actually is. It is it is sad. And that's not to say that the Republican, party is any less egregious in their politicking, but at least on issues of justice and being and allowing the separate branches to do what they're supposed to do, there seems to be no line. It just seems to be a single stem on on the Democratic side with no branches.
yeah, it's just right to the bare top of ruination, which will ruin a nation. Oh gosh,
Oh, look at
but
that!
after all those donations, there was the opportunity that a reporter took at the close of a briefing that Biden gave, and literally just shouted out to I don't know if you've seen this, Jesse, but you can look for this video. Shout out to Biden. President Biden, are you aware that Trump's convictions in his remarks, he blames you personally for this miscarriage of justice? And Biden does this weird thing where he stops and turns around and does this Joker smile at the lady. It is disturbing, to say the least. And then just kind of wanders off. And to see that, just the mechanisms of the levers of power is probably the most concerning part. This then moves to a sentencing, which I believe is scheduled for July 11th. The sentencing is kind of just interesting. The majority of these convictions, even these various 38 counts, for these types of crimes, do not see any jail time. So the majority of times there is a connection with time served, and then usually house arrest, or what we might know as some form of probation. Um, and and all of that seems very much on the table. Oh, did you find the clip?
Yeah, yeah. I think I found the clip. You want to play? I haven't seen it yet. This is a
This
live
is a
reaction.
longer view. This is a longer section of it.
Everyone who wants peace now
Looks like somebody's
must raise their voices
in space.
and let the leaders know they should take this deal, work to
Take
make
the
it
deal.
real, make it lasting, and forge a better future out of the tragic terror attack and war. It's time to begin this new stage.
You don't have to be sorry.
For the hostages to come home, for Israel to be secure,
Something's in the eye.
for the suffering to stop. It's time for this war to end, for the day after to begin. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, can you tell us, sir, Donald Trump refers to himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir? Do you think the conviction will have an impact on the campaign?
Oh yeah, that's a little weird, isn't it?
I told you.
Hear your thoughts, sir.
Should he be on the ballot, sir?
Oh yikes!
Yeah, that's weird, right?
That's a little weird.
No, well, if you have the video, if you're on the video medium, you can see that. That's disturbing. That turn and smile. I tell you what, that's some scary stuff. Wow, I was turning a corner to something, and then you posted that.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know. It was I think a demon leaked out of the mouth there. I think that's why that happened.
Possibly what it was.
Yikes.
I think you got a Phil. I think you got a demon.
They got a demon there.
Right. So the sentencing, July 11th. Thanks for that. So although the likelihood of jail time is not on the table, and I always consider that would be the case, obviously this conviction was a huge mistake. In seeing the support and funds raised by the Trump campaign, as far as calculations on the behalf of the Democrats, they did not make wise calculations necessarily. And I thought to myself, there's no way they would put him in a prison. And then when I found out how much the judge himself, who will be responsible for sentencing, was manipulating the rule of law in his courtroom to achieve this conviction, I think it is it's not likely, but it is actually still a real possibility that he will also seek to desire, right, to be immortalized in the annals of Democrat lore forever, as the one who also imprisoned Donald Trump. And it's very possible in my mind that could happen. So in other words, I think that jail time is on the table. It is a real possibility. Do I think it's a likely possibility? No. I think after as much money as Trump raised in a day, that they will, since I do also feel this is very politically driven, they will not seek to do that, because we know that President Trump tends to be better when he's not speaking, and then to take away his ability to speak and also make him a martyr by then putting him in prison, that seems like a real bad combination.
Well, what do you think the one phone call a day, will be?
Melania, how's Barron?
He ain't calling Melania. He's calling Tucker. He's calling Joe Rogan. He's calling.
Oh my gosh! Could you imagine? Could you imagine the people waiting, just waiting for Donald Trump's prison phone call to come in? You have a collect call from the Don.
The Don.
45, 46, 47.
Just got back from pumping iron in the yard.
Emil is very kind to spot me. Oh no, it's gonna go downhill. I'm leaving it alone.
No.
So that's the crux of the matter. My general reaction to a lot of the just more craziness has been I think the Democrats were hoping for just riots in the streets, and for all those gun-toting, Bible-owning Republicans to burn the cities and trash, and that's like, wait, no, this isn't George Floyd. That's not what we do. What is wrong with you?
Well, that's because we know that if we did it, we'd be actually thrown in prison and not let out.
Hey, I don't know if you're aware, but looting is simply the voice of the unheard. So rioting is simply the expression of the pain of previous generations.
It's like art. It's like an outpouring of the soul in making manifest in tangible ways.
Yeah. It's like when the blood cried out from the ground as Cain had killed his brother. It's like that.
Yeah.
This is, rioting is the blood crying out of the murdered shop owners that people killed. Well, stealing. Anyway, neither here nor there. So it didn't turn out quite. The plan didn't go. Rolling the plan out did not go as planned. And so July 11th will definitely be another day where maybe we need to do breaking news instead of broken news and react right away. But that'll be highly interesting to see how the sentencing goes. Regardless, this was perhaps one of the most disgusting things. I don't get me wrong. It is possible under man's justice for innocent people to be convicted of crimes they did not commit. We know this is a case under the fall. But what we should not be seeing from our courts, especially in highly public and politicized court cases, is such a egregious manipulation of any sense of the rule of law. And that is really the thing we should all be reacting to, because fast is coming the day in our nation when being a Christian will be a serious thought crime. If it is already moving towards that, and that may be the case. Things may get worse before they get better. And we need to realize that when injustice like this goes forward, we should cry loudly, because it is really disgusting, and leaves nothing left to the hands at the wheel of power when they come after anyone. So that part's scary. That's my reaction.
Definitely don't want to live in New York. Everybody, just
no, they're
throwing
all
that out there.
they're all moving to New Jersey. So it's just not that far away.
I have a feeling they're not going to gain much respite here.
No, I'm probably not. No, you know, slightly less crime. I don't know. I don't live in North Jersey. There's a lot of things happening up there in North Jersey. It's a different world up there. Scary world. Oh, I didn't know really how to end this podcast. This was just breaking news, and I was reacting to this. Do you have any other reactions, Jesse? Give me a reaction.
I don't.
There you go. I was gonna say, I was literally hoping for you to just react like, "What? No."
No. I mean,
gosh.
that's about it. I mean, I'm interested to see how the next month plays out. Just with the response of people in terms of the polls. I'm interested to see where independents start landing. Whether or not they can see the sham for what it is, or if it's just the Republican base, in which case nothing really is going to move much. Yeah, I mean, it was bad. I mean, between the judge, I think it was the judge and his familial connections to donating to Biden and to Democratic, agendas, and I mean, and it's hard to say that someone's impartial when they're doing stuff like that, especially in such a case as this. It's not just like a did you speed or did you not speed. This is a, hey, I'm going to make this up about you. Are you innocent or guilty? Guys, he's guilty. Say that he's guilty, guys. It's like, it's literally it's literally that. And so
There are
like
two choices: guilty and guiltier. You should definitely choose one of those.
yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I am surprised that there were not hardly anything that I've heard of in terms of uproars of violence. I was commenting to one of our friends, and he's like, yeah, it's because we're not Marxists. And I'm like, you know what, you're not wrong. Also, I think a lot of people probably look at this as a political win for Trump. They done messed up Ron, and I think that will bear itself out.
They're gonna have to go down to O'Shea Hennessy's office.
Yeah. So who knows? The weather's warming up. People get frisky, and stuff can happen. But we'll see.
Stop posting the Jesus hugging Donald Trump meme that says, Jesus.
Yeah.
People convicted me when
None
I
of
was
our
in his
listeners do that.
too.
None of our
do
listeners do.
Yeah, let's just be clear.
There's like
Jesus
the Bible Dingers
and Trump
listeners.
are not the same. Oh, the Bible Dingers listeners do that?
Yeah,
they are
yeah,
more
they
in North
probably do
Jersey,
that.
so I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
Some of them may have convicted Trump. I kid. I joke. I kid. We love you guys. But I do.
Stop doing that, seriously.
Yeah, seriously, don't do that. Just to relate it, Jesus was perfect and actually innocent. Trump is a sinful, evil person. And just because this crime doesn't
just so happens to be of this one thing,
right? Like let's not compare apples and oranges, or rather, apples and
Son of God,
lake algae. I don't know, like
algae.
Let's not compare God and soiled underwear. Like they're not the same thing. Like just don't do that. Okay, we can. It's just fine to say This seems to be a hugely unjust miscarriage of our legal system against someone that is politically motivated. This should not happen in our country without having to drag Jesus into it. Don't just leave the Son of Man alone. Leave the Christ out of it. Leave. All right. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. That's another reaction that I've had. Please stop that.
All
do
right,
that.
sounds good. Before this turns into a full length episode, we should cut this off.
Yeah. And enjoy this broken news episode. We hope that you will continue this day to seize the faith all the way through until you'll seize the faith for the next episode. So, dear Christian, please
Seize the faith until Friday.
Do-do-do.